Hello, everybody, and welcome to week number 1 of the Optimal Championship League. It's our podcast, and this one's going to be a preview of the Premier Division. We've got all of those teams locked and loaded. It's a 10-team division, 9-week regular season facing off on Wednesdays on twitch.tv/Optimal Championship League. My name is Carl, and I will be bringing you these podcasts every week alongside one of our color casters. It's Llama. How's it going, sir?
I'm doing good. I am excited to be here. Excited to be on, the pre-week. We get to discuss a little bit about what to look forward to, what teams are going to be playing, and maybe some rankings here and there. But how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here. I cast Optimal Championship League. Legacy viewers may be aware, I think almost 2 years ago at this point. It was somewhere in the pandemic, which means everything is just a blur, right? But excited to be back doing this little podcast. We don't have a name yet, but maybe we'll have one by the end of the year, so we'll have some improvement there. Basically going to be going over the matches each week, some league news, if there is any, some power rankings, sort of predictions for the future, general OCL discussion of both the Premier and Poro League. Today it's just going to be the Premier League this week, as I said, since those teams are all set to go. We're just going to go through the OPGGs. That's what we've done beforehand. We have some power rankings. We're going to discuss where we think the teams are going to land, just so we have something to laugh at the end of the season when the team we put in 9th place ends up first. So that's basically how it goes, right?
Yeah, they're definitely going to meme us. These rankings probably not going to hold too much water between now and the end of the season. But I'm excited. That's what it's all about. We get to give a little prediction. And you know what? The teams at the bottom, I hope they prove us wrong. I hope we get shakeups and, great matches throughout the entirety of the season.
I hope they do too. I got the master sheet and I went, all right, almost everybody here's plat. How do we differentiate them? Requires a little bit more, but let's just jump right into it. At the 10th spot, we have, unfortunately, we don't mean any harm. We had to have somebody in last place. We've picked Divine Temple. Tell us why.
Yeah, so they do have the lowest average rank. That's just the most easiest way to describe it. But the thing is, they are 10th, but they play some crazy stuff, okay? They played 90 games on Poppy Top, and they play Kiana as well. These explosive champions that, some teams aren't going to expect.
And it often matters, especially, 10th versus, sneaking into the playoffs, if you can just pick a couple of wins up off of something like the Poppy, right? You bring it out in one game, boom, you get a win. That can sort of, in a 9-game season, extra 2 wins, that means a lot, right? And so if it's those, kind of cheese champs that pick up a win, they could go big. On the other hand, like you said, the lowest average rank, they have 4 people that are gold. The 80 carry is platinum, so just a little bit below the league average. And I think for that reason, they sort of got stuck down in the 10th spot. But some interesting picks is always fun, especially on stream. You see a Kiana, you see a Poppy, they could be a lot of fun. So a team to watch to potentially sneak into those playoffs. But for now, we have them at number 10. Moving on to number 9, it's Ban Out Bunny, which personally is one of my favorite names of the team so far, but they're in the 9th place.
Yeah, they are in the 9th place. Like you said, one of the teams that's one of the pretty good names here. But I think they do, although they're in the 9th place position, they have a little bit low average ranking as well. They do have some heavy power points coming from the jungle. There is a very high ranked player in the jungle, Stephen Hawking 69 there, that, jungle is that one position that can change the whole game. That isn't just sitting in their lane, that has the possibility to dip between multiple different lanes, can change it themselves. And because they are that high average rank, it could be a game changer.
Certainly could. They've played a lot of games. I think that also should be noted. Taking a look at the OPGG, over 1,500 games on jungle this season already. So that's a lot of games, first of all. But also, the champions that they're playing, the top 5 that they play the most, Xin Zhao, Hecarim, Jarvan, Lee Sin, and Wukong. So obviously, wow. AD heavy, very aggressive. This is not a player that is going to sit back and just, farm it out and wait. Stephen Hawking here looking to push that advantage, gank early, carry a game, and as the highest ranked person on the team, that could make a large difference. In 8th place, it is Bad Guys, which you've noted here is another top lane heavy team. Tell us more about why they're in the 8th place.
I mean, they do have a couple gold players. That's the main reason. And your ADC being a gold player, not necessarily something that is the greatest, but they have a sub that's plat. Maybe that player could step in for a couple of games. But yeah, the top lane is going to be the focus for them. Shangdi or Bastard Child, whatever the name they are going under for the day. I mean, top lane can be huge, although they are kind of up on an island on their own. If you can make some plays, get ahead, can help your team out. Why not as a diamond player?
teleport got changed. You can use that a little bit earlier too. Maybe we'll see some fun plays in the bot lane. You mentioned the AD carry being a little bit lower ranked. Something that's sort of important in competitive play, I think especially, is how well you can do in the bot lane. Games tend to be a little bit longer. Maybe looking to push a lead down there, and if you're just getting behind game after game in the bot lane, it can be hard to generate dragons, hard to generate advantage there. So that's something to watch for. But the diamond player, it's something in these leagues with allowing one diamond 4 player, something that you really want to watch for. What kind of impact can they have on their team, because they tend to be the players that you look for to make that hard carry, get a bunch of solo kills, get really far ahead. So bad guys, maybe a little bit weak in the traditional carry position, but the top lane, very, very strong. Could be a team to look to sneak into those playoffs. In position number 7, just not quite making it into playoffs on our list here, is ELYSIUM VALOR. What are our thoughts?
Yeah, they're coming in here at the 7th spot here, so not too bad. They're kind of middle of the pack, I would say. All plat, they haven't been playing too much recently, and they are kind of a backup team. So could be interesting to see. Now we'll have 2 organizations with 2 teams in, now in. So it'll be fun to look at. But I think they need to get some more games on the season.
Those head-to-head matchups, always fun to watch, but not a ton of ranked games recently. We had that big mid-season patch. They're in the lower end of the platinum tier, so just sort of a gut feeling from us. Just outside the playoffs, maybe they'll prove us wrong. Hopefully they do, and you can all point and laugh, but for now, that's where we have this team. The first team we have making the playoffs, sneaking in on the bubble, getting that 16 seed. If you like basketball, it's always slept on. What are you feeling?
We're sleeping on them again, unfortunately. We're putting them down a little bit under that halfway marker. But yeah, again, they're another team that has a lot of plats in the team. I think one of the big things that it pointed to me was they have a lot of subs. So if maybe a player isn't doing well, if maybe they need that one certain pick, they can bring in a lot of these players. Really well-rounded, and in jungle, they have those pop-off picks. Corki, Amumu, Kassadin, some nice picks over there as well. I love to see that, and like I said, those subs could definitely help throughout the season.
The wild picks in the jungle, I think especially, can throw a lot of wrenches in all of the works. If you just have a Corki coming at you from the jungle, you're just not ready for that, right? Your kind of normal baseline operating is not getting ganked by Kassadin. At 6 minutes over, different walls, different pathing can really throw a wrench in the works. The substitutes also make a big deal, especially in case of scheduling conflicts. That can matter. Somebody's not feeling well, not doing well. A lot of reasons that I think they're living up to the name, that they're always slept on, right? They could, be a contender for the title. They're all platinum. They look pretty strong. If you have that many substitutes, you're probably a pretty serious team. They're ready to go. And they're led by Sir Derpington the Fourth, which is a great name. So you've got to give him points for that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. At number 5, we're getting into one of the 2 sister teams. It's OE Infinity, making the playoffs in a pretty solid way, right around the middle of the pack. What are our thoughts?
Yeah, I like this. We have 2 OE teams in this Premier Division, so it's going to be exciting to see them maybe, battle back and forth, see which one can accomplish more. But I think what sticks out to me for OE Infinity specifically is Robin on that AD carry role loves to play those more, forward engaged style AD carries. Like Ashe, Xayah's not really an engaged one, but, has tools to move around. And I always love me a Zilean mids.
Zilean mid, absolutely underrated in my mind. That champion is so strong. Every time I play against it, I'm like, oh, they're not dead again. And it's really, really frustrating. That AD carry position with those changes, the buffs essentially to the items, I think the role is very, very strong at 3 or 4 items especially, which you get to a lot in competitive. Ashe, Xayah, champions that can really just start to machine gun, start to, look like a turret, and cut down the enemy champ. So I think this is a strong team. They're part of the org that has, done pretty well in the past. They're a pretty serious team, and definitely something to look for in the league here. At number 4, we have the brother or the sister of OE Infinity. It's OE Nova. What makes them squeak in just a little bit ahead of their sibling?
I mean, both of these teams are so well-rounded. So I think they're very close together at 4 and 5, but they did have just a little bit higher average rank. So that kind of swayed me a little bit more. So they look a little bit better on the resume, but the resume doesn't matter if you go in and lose a game and whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter what the rank is at the start of the season. Of course, that's why we're going to get memed. They play each other on the 14th of July, so a little bit more than a month from now in week 6, which is going to be a fun game. I'm sure that will be on stream. It's got to be, right? They're both very strong teams, the brother-sister team. Looking forward to seeing them, but a very solid team. Ranks look great. Everybody looks like a confident player, well-rounded. Looking forward to seeing them on the Rift. Working our way now into the teams that we think have a real shot at the championship. At number 3, just missing out on that finals match, is deep below esports.
I like this team. I know we discussed it a little bit before talking about this, that, they do have a gold 1 player in mid. It is Elliott sitting there, but I think we've talked about the importance of AD carry, throughout today, and how that spot can be so important. And they got a diamond 4 player, Peekaboo, down there, who is gonna try and carry the team. Ezreal, Lucian, the favorites picks from that AD carry. And those are just picks that are easy to play, and they're good to play some games on.
They're also champions that you really can carry games with. Really strong Ezreal players, if they're the best player in the server, can wreak a lot of havoc in a game, dodging about, landing all the skill shots. They play, very classic AD carries, Tristana, Ezreal, Jinx, but champs that can pump out a lot of damage and really be the focal point for the team. And I think that's where Peekaboo lands on this team as the highest ranked player, looking to be their main carry and win some games for them. So I think this is a dangerous team if they can cover the mid lane, potential weakness, right? We're just going off rank. But if they can, babysit that, make sure they're playing some kind of supportive champions, I think this is a team that can go far in the playoffs. All right. In spot number 2, just missing out on that number 1 spot, it is ELYSIUM Shield taking the 2 spot.
Yeah, they take the 2 spot, 1 away from getting that number 1, but I gotta say, this team looks pretty dangerous overall. We talked about before how important it can be having, multiple people that can, if you played another lane, you understand it better, and it can help understand the team composition a little bit better, and they have a lot of stats there that show they've been playing a bunch of different lanes in that ranked, and they love those traditional champions. Victor, Jinx, always champions you can carry on, but they also have those pocket picks like Cassiopeia and Asol.
Also sort of indicates that they're able to branch out if the meta is going to shift, if there's some sort of patch, that they can play a wide range of champions, right? Sometimes you see people with a champion pool of 3 champs. Well, if they're not good, that player's also probably not going to perform. They play a lot of traditional champions that are usually pretty strong. The Asol is good. At this point, Cassiopeia can be a nice pocket pick. This is a very strong-looking team. Plat 1, Diamond 4. Everybody's in Plat Plus. Looking very well-rounded. Organization team, likely pretty serious. One of my top picks to look for, looking for this championship. This is a team that we have pegged to potentially go quite far, go all the way. And the only team that might stand in their way is our top pick, which is Niner Esports. What makes them our, sort of pick to win the championship at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, they're our pick to win the thing. They are sticking at number 1 at the start. I think it's the players they have. I mean, obviously, you have a large amount of games. Lemon Lover, Want to See a Trick. 58 games played on Fizz already this season. And it's not only that. I mean, you talk about this team. They have a large social media presence. They've played in CLOL. They have been on these stages, and they've been challenged to a point where I think that, they have the skills to pay the bills.
And proven competitive experience, right? And that isn't a knock against the other teams who very likely have previous competitive experience as well. But with Niner Esports, they have documented previous competitive experience, and from where we're at, that's what matters right now, right? So this is a team that, we know is a serious team. They've played in college. They've played together. They've likely had some coaching. And that kind of team cohesion can be really, really important up against teams that maybe have started playing together very recently. Just knowing, how to communicate, how to rotate, how to work together in that competitive environment might not be there. And so Niner Esports, they have the ranks, they have the experience to be this, well-rounded team. I think a very, very solid choice as our number 1 on the power rankings this early on in the season. Very high ranked, very serious team. Looking forward to watching their games as they go up against OE Infinity in week number 1, and that could be a main matchup to watch. But I also want to turn to some other star matches to watch, which is going to be maybe a recurring segment on the show. It's a segment on the show this week. What are we thinking? Teams going up against each other this week, any week. What have you got for us, Llama?
So I think in the pre-week, we got to look a little bit forward. We mentioned it, talking about it, that there are 2 teams, brother-sister organizations, OE Infinity and OE Nova. I mean, you have to probably imagine they've scrimmed against each other. They practiced against each other. They have so much experience against each other, and yet they're still going to have to face head-to-head. And they're right next to each other on those power rankings. They're right there, and they both seem like champion contenders that, a couple weeks down the line, it might change a little bit, but that could be a game that decides whether or not they make the playoffs.
Yeah, it certainly could. We have them pegged at 4 and 5, just on the inside of the playoffs. But of course, it could be a little bit higher than that, might be looking for a playoff bye, might be a little bit lower than that, looking to just get into the playoffs. And I think whenever you have, organization teams going up against each other, especially org teams that are close in rank, right? It's not like this is the diamond team against the gold team. These are two teams that are really, really, really close. I am very excited to watch this play out. And it's late enough in the season, as we're saying, that it might actually have serious implications in the future too. So this is a serious matchup. I don't think we'll see, the teams trolling each other or anything, at least too hard. But looking forward to that. I think for week number 1, it is what we called out earlier a little bit, Niner versus OE Infinity. Not to give the family too much love here, but two teams that we have pegged in the top. I think the top, 4 or 5 all look very, very strong. So I think that week 1 matchup, just to see how the teams are coming out of the gate swinging. If you're Niner Esports looking to, go almost undefeated, have that first seed, this is a match that you definitely need to win. And for OE Infinity, see how well they can perform against one of the top teams in the league on the first go. See if they can, put up a fight, if they're going to just get swept away, or if they're able to pull that sort of upset.
I think it is also important to note that, we're starting a new patch, right? You mentioned there's a bunch of new changes coming through. These players probably going to have to adapt mid-season, and it's not just like a best-of-1. You're not playing one match, playing the tournament, getting it over with. You got to play some consistency and adapt to what is being thrown at you. So coming out early, being able to show you can adapt to that meta early for these teams is going to be important.
Yes, indeed it is. That's it for our star matches to watch of the week. I want to turn from the general to the more specific for our final segment today, and that is star players to watch as we go into the season. What have you got for us?
Yeah, so I think the first star player, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier, it is Stephen Hawking 69 from the team Ban Out Bunny. Now, obviously, we placed them 9th. We placed them pretty low on the totem pole, but being a jungler, we talked about, it has the ability to do so much change around the map, being the highest ranked member on the team as well. If you start to make a difference, your team is going to be making a difference, and they could be picking up wins.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a player that we sort of have pegged here to maybe pull the team higher than we had them ranked. Of course, if they're able to come out with a strong performance week in and week out, you can definitely not drag the rest of the team along, but have the potential to sort of help your players shine. If you get them a lead early on, they can gain that confidence and play from ahead, potential to move Ban Out Buddy into that playoff race.
100%. And it's not even that as well. You can get gold there, but if teams are starting to sense there's a threat in jungle, they're going to put more resources to trying to stop the threat in jungle, and maybe that's exactly what your other players need to succeed.
Shift those bans over. That happened to me when I played in college. We had a very, very strong jungler, and jungle bans every game. I got my one trick almost every game, which made it a lot easier to play. So those kind of side effects are very important as well. The other player we have pegged to watch is Peekaboo. Talked about them earlier. Highest ranked AD carry in the league thus far, right up there in the diamond bracket. And in a meta that we've said, maybe shifting around the AD carry position, all of those changes coming through, the possibility for just blowing the opposition away through that position is quite high.
I think it's going to be a position to watch for, and specifically Peekaboo. I mean, deep below, they have a couple of lower ranking players on the team, so that AD carry position is going to need to succeed. But you talked about it. It's someone that can not only just crush the bot lane, crush everywhere, but in team fights specifically, I feel like recently everything's been focused on AD carries.
Yeah, it absolutely has. The items getting changed around, making that item path a little bit more clear for AD carries, boosting the damage, especially in the Zeal item group. You're able to put a lot more damage out at 4 items because those items just have better stats now. They're not 2,500 gold items, they're 3,000 gold items. And when you get to that 3-item power spike, AD carries really are packing a punch. We've seen a lot of supports built around protecting those AD carries. I've seen a lot of Janna in solo queue. Other kind of enchantress supports like Melio are very strong. And at those dragon fights, champs like Lucian, like Ezreal can pump out a lot of damage. So Peekaboo, a player that I think can move this team from a strong playoff team to a championship contender if they get hot at the right time.
100%. And I think any player, I think like we said, we talked about the teams to watch, we talked about the rankings, we talked about these players, but I want to see the players we didn't talk about. I want to see the teams we didn't talk about, have those games, have those pop-off moments, and prove us wrong and show us that they can do it.
Absolutely. These are players that are all close enough in rank that anybody could win this league. This is not a foregone conclusion that Niner Esports and ELYSIUM Shield are going to be battling it out for the title, right? They're ranked higher on our list because they're ranked higher by a division and a half in solo queue, right? Like they're plat 2 instead of plat 4, and so that's all we have to go on at this point. I cannot wait for this season to get underway to sort of see where these players go week in and week out. We will be having discussion of the games every week. We're going to review the VODs and go over what happened in the games each week, sort of what our predictions are for the following week games, games to watch specifically, and then we'll have an updated power rankings each week as we go throughout the season to sort of update our predictions as we get closer to playoffs and see who we feel is the strongest team, not necessarily the most likely to win the league, but who do we feel is the strongest team at any point in time. That is going to do it for the first episode of the Optimal Championship League podcast. This has been our Premier Division preview. We will also have a Poro Division preview once all of those teams get set to go. This has been Carl and Llama. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.